All right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Thursday. We have a lot to cover today. This is the off season, pretty much. It's been the off season for us since we lost the game at Vanderbilt. Well, really, after like the Oklahoma loss, I was already in off season mode. P and I were, but yeah, we're off to a good start. You know what I mean? This 2026 class, we finished very strong there, but so many more steps that we had to take. And end of the year, I think, with a really bad taste in our mouths, at least for me personally. And then it was like that last season. This year, really, it's even worse. But I think the coach Heupel can get it figured out. He's going to need some help. Hopefully, Danny White. I know that Danny White's all in for him, but some of his staff too. He's going to have to make some changes, and we're just going to go through all the steps, right, for the off season. Because step one, check that one off, but there's several more. And if coach Heupel does it right, then Tennessee should be in a much better spot next season. But please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Y'all can share your thoughts as we're going throughout the video. We won't be doing anything tomorrow because I had to travel. My nephew Bray, he's playing in the semifinals here in the state of Georgia with Buford, and we're going to be on the road all day. And we won't be back until Saturday. So I don't even know if we'll be able to post on Saturday either. But either way, let's go ahead and get started. So number one, like I said, we finished very strong with the 2026 class. This is from 24/7 Sports, and they have Tennessee ranked number 7 nationally, number 3 in the SEC. I think On 3 and Rivals has us in the same spot. And we have 28 commits currently. We're going to talk about one guy that might be flipping away, but you have to look at some of these other teams, right? So like Texas A&M, everyone talks about the oil money that those teams have out there in Texas, and Tennessee's over 'em. And then Miami, that's another one. People say, well, they got some deep pockets down there. They talk about Michigan, LSU, Washington. What's Washington doing way up here? But yeah, so Tennessee's in a good spot. This is going to be Coach Heupel's first top 10 class. So super, super proud of him. Super proud of this entire staff for being able to get that done. Obviously, we do have deeper pockets than some people think. That's a big shout out to our sponsor, the Three Stripes, for that influx of money. It hasn't hit just yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't get the contracts and all that written out, because you know that it will hit at some point very, very shortly for these players to get paid. But either way, Legend Bey, right? It was brought up to us in the stream yesterday that there was some speculation that maybe he didn't really want to sign with Tennessee. And I wasn't really paying attention to it because I felt like it didn't really make much sense. I thought that people were just making it up, but it turns out that there is some truth to it. There was an article that came out from On 3 earlier today that was more or less confirming a lot of the rumors that, yeah, Legend Bey wanted to sign with the Buckeyes, but he's only 17. He needs a parent, guardian, whatever, to sign off with him or for him, whatever, probably with him. And his mom didn't like him. She didn't like the Buckeyes. She liked Tennessee better. It sounds like his older brother doesn't like him either. Now, with him being a minor, we all know how that goes, right? Like for those of us that are older, we all know that whenever you're young, you haven't lived that much. So you might not always make the best decisions. And I'm not saying that that's what Legend Bey is doing, because let me get this out the way. I love Legend Bey. I think that he's a great player. My player comp form is Percy Harvin. I think that he's going to be special. Right. But it doesn't always mean that he's going to necessarily do what's best for his long-term future. So I think that it's pretty telling that the mama chose us and not the Buckeyes. And it's funny because there's some of these, I guess, like moderators for some of the Buckeye message boards that are talking trash about Tennessee. They're saying, well, shame on Tennessee because they like encouraged him, or I guess they're saying that we did some type of backdoor, underhanded, sneaky stuff with the mom where we paid her to, sign with us, or which doesn't even make any logical sense. Like there's nothing about that would make any logical sense. In all honesty, it's something that they just totally made up. I'm sure that that's 100% fabricated. And I kind of wish that Tennessee could sue their asses for even throwing that stuff out there. But, all of this from my end, this is all just speculation. I'm going off of what I've read on the message boards and in different places. But either way, man, I think it's funny that they're saying shame on Tennessee for trying to do like they're like asserting that Tennessee was doing some backdoor stuff with the mom. But shame on y'all because y'all have been tampering with this man after his mom chose us and not y'all. And y'all have been trying to get him to come to y'all's school, in spite of his mom's wishes. That's crazy. Like that is insane. And no one's talking about it. But either way, I think that Tennessee will let him out. I think that if the coaching staff felt like he didn't want to be with us, I don't think that they ever would have, let him sign. But and I don't know how all that's played out. But now that things are what they are, maybe they want to let him out of the contract, but they just can't because legally he's only 17. So I think he turns 18 at like the end of the month, whenever he does turn 18, that's when I am expecting that he's gonna maybe sign himself out of the contract and flip to the Buckeyes. Like I said, I wish him well. I really do. I hope that things work out great for him. And all of that good stuff. But let me also show y'all this, because I haven't really seen too many people talking about this either. But this is something that he posted earlier today on his, I think, X or maybe Instagram. And you can see that it's him in a Buckeye uniform. You can see his last name on the back of it. He's with Ryan Day to his right. I don't know who the other coach is to his left. They're in a very dark and scary place. It almost looks like hell to me, or like purgatory. And there's snow falling. So I think that this speaks to the mindset of the people up there, that they would think that this is, I don't know, like, is this supposed to be scary? Because that's not a place that I would want to be. That's just me. I wouldn't want to go to a dark and scary, cold, snowing place. And I play football in the snow. I know the difference between playing in the heat versus playing in the snow, and I would much rather be in the heat. But either way, I would love to know who made this graphic for him, because if it's somebody from the actual university, then this would be tampering, because this came out after he signed with us. Obviously, you can tell just based off of the kind of like context of this entire situation that this was made after he signed with Tennessee. So I think that whoever it is, again, some of those moderators up there on the message boards and whoever the hell else need to be very careful with the way that they're talking, because Tennessee could very easily turn y'all's asses in for tampering, because I'm sure there's plenty of evidence. And also, like I said, that there could be some lawsuits. I don't like the Buckeyes, because I think from top to bottom as a group, very conceited. And I will put them up there. Y'all know how much I can't stand Georgia. They're right up there with Georgia for me. If Georgia and the Buckeyes played, I don't know who I'd be going for. That's how much I can't stand them now, because they do this every year. Like they did it with David Sanders. They kept, they threw some things out there that was probably made up about how, he's not going to sign with them because whoop-de-whoop. Well, guess what? Played the whole season with us, and obviously he's very happy here. Mike Matthews, they did the same thing then. They do it all the time just because they're like sore losers. But I'm going to get on up off of this soapbox and let me take y'all right back to this class, because like I said, Tennessee's ranked at number 7. And our rating right here is at a 291.19. So I went in for 24/7 Sports. They have a calculator that you can go and take players out or add players. If we take out Legend Bey, Tennessee drops to 289 point something, which keeps us over Texas for those of y'all that worry about the rankings and all of that. I take it with a grain of salt. It is a good sign that we're up here, because most of the rankings will be right, I think, but it doesn't tell the whole tale of how the players fit into your scheme and your system and everything else. But I did want to point that out, that I'm not anticipating that with 24/7 Sports, Tennessee is going to drop down probably too much. There's maybe a possibility that maybe we drop down some, like maybe down to number 8, but I think that this will still be a top 10 class. So with all of that being said, let's talk about the wide receiver room. Without Legend Bey, without Moa, because Tennessee frees up some money by not having both of those guys. And down at the bottom, you can see the true freshmen who are in orange, right? That's our 2 guys. Both of those players signed. So Tyree King and also Tristan Keys. Very, very proud of those 2. And then, we're adding them to a very talented room. You can see what the star rating is. So down at the very bottom, you can see all the averages. So it's a total of 8 players inside of this class. Their average height is 6'1". That's exactly what it was before with Moa. And the average weight actually went up to 196. It was at 195. The average class is a sophomore. That didn't change. And the average star rating didn't change either. It's still at 4.2. So yeah, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference necessarily for this team. I almost want to say that based off of what we showed this season, where Tennessee got by with, what was it, like 6 or 7 scholarship wide receivers, that Tennessee might be fine with just 6 or 7 wide receivers moving forward. I think that obviously, like, you need your starting 3 and then have 3 more backups that are really good, and then maybe +1. Well, we got a +2. So I feel fine. I've also talked about, I felt like for the past couple of seasons, Tennessee's overspent on offense. You shouldn't need that much money spent on your offense. Spend it in the trenches, right? So I'm more so talking about with the skill players, so wide receivers, running backs. Yeah, like, you got to spend to get some good guys, but you don't need to overspend. You don't need to have a really deep, 10, 15 players inside of this room. They're all 4 and 5 stars. That's just too much money, I think, on one individual room. So Tennessee's going to be perfectly fine, man. We could take that money and allocate it to some places that we need on defense, which we got to spend a lot more money there. We don't want to have another defensive showing like we did this past season, right? So I think that it's kind of like one of those situations that actually is going to end up playing out better for Tennessee. Again, I would love to hold on to Legend Bey, so don't take it that way. But I just think that it's not make or break for this class, and most Tennessee fans would probably feel the same way. Now, let's move forward and talk about the bowl game. There's 2 right now. that some of the experts are saying that Tennessee will probably end up going to one of these two. So either versus Georgia Tech or versus Iowa. I don't want to play Iowa just because they're historically like a very boring team. Maybe their offense has changed some. I think that they got a new offensive coordinator, so maybe it'll be more of a fun game. But I don't want to play against Big Ten teams because they're all pretty much boring. Georgia Tech, I would like to play them, but at the same time, I think that's a tough matchup for us, But also because I think a lot of our players will be opting out. Probably the same thing for Tech. They've got some guys that would probably opt out of that bowl game. But either way, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna end up playing them here pretty soon anyway. So it's a good time for us to get a maybe like early scout. Same thing for them. Hopefully, Tennessee's gonna be better for it. But either way, actually, let me go back real quick, y'all. So both of these bowls will be at the end of this month. One's on the 27th, one's on the 31st. So let me make sure that I point that out just as far as like the timeline. I think that the bowl prep practicing should start at some point next week. So we got the like conference championship games this weekend. And then after that, we'll know where we're going bowling. And we'll start prepping for whoever, right? So this is what is left from the checklist for the offseason. We did a great job with number one. That's why that's checked off. Finished with a strong 2026 class. And look, man, like whenever you can close out with 4 defensive linemen, 3 being blue chip caliber, I think that the 4th guy, Nuke Simmons, dog, if he had played football longer, I think he would be a blue chip caliber player. I think that he is a blue chip caliber player. Just doesn't have the rating on some of those sites. But either way, great job with that haul. I think that it tells you that Tennessee's got some deep pockets, right? Like if you can just go in and say, hey, you know what? We want boom, 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 boom. We want these 4 guys. Let's bring them on. And pretty much like out of nowhere, that's the type of money that I think we got now thanks to our 3 Stripe sponsors. But moving forward, and number 2, we got to finish up with the exit interviews. They've already started off on them. So some players have already done theirs. It's not just with the players. I think it's also going to be some with the coaches. So Coach Heupel needs to figure out what he wants to do with some of the players on this roster. Are they going to be asking for too much money and we have to cut ties with them? We'll get that figured out expeditiously. And then same thing with the staff, not even about the whole money part, but do they fit what we're trying to do? Like who wasn't living up to the standard? Are there some maybe coaches that some of the players don't like or, like whatever, like any of that type of stuff going on? You've got to move forward. And as you're doing it, you have to make sure that you're like raising the floor. Like that's got to be the whole mindset. We're going to raise the floor. And part of that's going to be by holding on to what you would consider the best guys is going to be the core of your team moving forward. So like I said, man, that goes for players and coaches. You're going to have to cut some ties with folks. I think that the strength staff, hate the individual and single out and all that, but at the same time, bro, like we just got to get it done. We need to upgrade there. Coach Heupel needs to upgrade there if he doesn't want to be on the hot seat and in the same position at this time next season. All right. So we also, like I said, we have to hold on to our best players, hold on to our best coaches. So you could interchange 3 and 4, but then we got to get ready for bowl prep. You know what I'm saying? Or we have to start our bowl prep and get ready for the bowl game. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people are going to opt out, right? It's going to be interesting to see how many people are going to hit the portal because the portal opens up on January the 2nd. So you have to hold on to enough people to obviously be able to go play a game. Is it going to be mostly underclassmen playing in this one? I'm not sure. I think it's very possible because we have so many players that I think are veterans that will end up opting out of this game or that are going to be going pro opting out of this game. Can you get a good look at GMAC? Like there's a lot of things that go into that. And then of course you got to look at the rookies because there's so many players. Most of the guys in this class have already signed and they will be up early. So the only 2 that won't be up early, I think is Big Albert from Mississippi and Tyreek King. So one of the wide receivers won't be up, but you can get a good look at, hey, fresh off the bus, who do we think can help us out immediately next season? Like who just looks like with a good offseason in 2026 that they can be guys for us. We don't have to go out to the portal and add somebody. Now, I don't think that you could tell everything from that, but it's more about who looks really good. If somebody looks really good, then, okay, well, we ain't got to worry about adding nothing to, whatever that spot is on the team. But get through with the bowl and all of that. Obviously, throughout this entire process, as you're doing the exit interviews and figuring out what players are going to end up leaving, you got to start to tamper. You need to start doing that expeditiously. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, for me, Tennessee's got to go add 2 portal safeties. I think at least 1 starting caliber safety, the best safety out there. Tennessee has to do that. And then we need, for sure, a defensive tackle or 2. Might need a defensive end. Kicker is one that I think that we need, and we probably won't hear nothing about the kicker until after the bowl game. But I don't know what Howard's going to do, but I would anticipate that he has to see it. If we can see it, he has to see it too. So we have to upgrade there. Running back is a place that we need to go maybe add another body for depth purposes. Obviously, quarterback, that's going to be a very sticky situation. Like I said, like, do you want to let GMAC play more in this game versus Joey? How much, how much time is going to be left for Joey to get things figured out? I think that by this bowl game, if Joey doesn't have an answer from whoever from the courts about getting that extra year, we got to cut ties there because we can't wait around. So there are a lot of things that he has to do, and he's going to need a whole lot of help. So last thing after that, obviously, once you go out to the portal and you close and finish strong there, which I'm fully anticipating that as soon as it opens up on January the 2nd, we should hear a lot of smoke about players coming to Tennessee. And I'm also looking to see what players are hitting the portal maybe closer to that date, because if you can come in on like on like January the 1st, or if like the rumors are out there on the 1st and you hit the portal and then, oh, hey, visits are set up with Tennessee, then we already know what time it is. It should be somebody that we're bringing on, but we should have a long laundry list of players. I could see Tennessee adding maybe 10 plus players from the portal, and they should all be very, very good. But after that, once you've got your team put together, you got a really strong roster, you've made the necessary changes from a staff standpoint, then it's time to go to work, man. Then it's time to, get back inside of the lab. What do we need to tweak with the offense? We did a lot of really big tweaks in this offseason, and we saw it pay off. The offense, the passing game, I'd say, especially took several steps forward. And that's what they were focusing on. Is well, what's our answer to the answer that defenses have shown us within our passing game? Well, now what they have to do is find more answers, because halfway through the season, teams were starting to sit on what we're doing yet again. But you got to have like answers off of the answers. Like, you got to have 3 to 4 things that come off of one set every look. That's going to be huge for us moving forward. And then, for the defense, we'll see. Is Coach Banks going to stick around, or do we go find somebody else? That could be kind of dicey too, because if Coach Banks leaves, does anybody else leave? As far as like coaches on the staff, if a new staff comes in, do they want a whole new staff of linebacker coaches, secondary coaches, so on and so forth? Because some of those guys we have to hold on to. Like Coach ET, he can't go nowhere. That's got to be like a non-negotiable. Coach ET is going to stick with us. But yeah, like if some of the coaches leave, then some of the players will probably leave as well. So you got to be very careful from that standpoint. But we have to get several things figured out, and I think that the strength staff, the overall mindset of the team just has to get significantly tougher. We got to be harder on these guys and just push them. Like, that's what you're there for as a coach, is to push these guys, push them past what they're comfortable doing. And if we can't do that, then we'll be right back here next season. And it's going to be a little bit of a different conversation, where Coach Heupel is going to be the one worrying about his job. And I don't mean to say it that way, but I'm just keeping it real. So those are my thoughts. Please share y'all's down in the comments section. And as always, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We might be talking to y'all on Saturday. Thanks. Peace.